It isn't often a player can climb to the #1 state ranking in junior tennis, go on to play in college, lead his team to an NCAA championship, then reach the top 150 on the ATP Tour. But then again, most players aren't Phillip Johnson.
He's one of the most gifted, best athletes that I've ever been around. And I do this for a living.
Some people can play, but they can't teach. Some people can teach, but they can't coach. I mean, he can do the spectrum.
Well, to me, his tennis record it just speaks for itself. I mean, what he did, what he accomplished at Georgia, and then moving on professionally, I think is just very, very deserving.
Johnson was born in Tunnel Hill, Georgia in 1964 and started playing tennis at a young age. In the 70s, Johnson's father, a Methodist minister, built a court next to his church in Dalton, Georgia. This facility became Johnson's training ground. By the time he was 11, he'd won his first tournament.
Coming from a small town, you don't have that access to, playing against other players and so forth. And I think you got to give credit for an inner drive to keep, to quit another sport and to continue with something that he fell in love with.
Physically, Johnson was a smaller player. At 16 years old, he was just 4'11" and 85 pounds and had to use two hands to swing his racket. This unusual style would serve him well during the rest of his career, allowing him to create masterful angles to go with his incredible speed and footwork.
Well, I don't know where that started. It may have started because there was no tennis coach around, and that's how he learned to play. You'd think that by Phillip not being the tallest guy in the world, that when you're playing with two hands off both sides, that restricts your reach a little bit. But he was so quick, and one of the big attributes that he had as a tennis player, other than his great hand-eye coordination and feel for the game, but he could manage the court in ways that most players can't.
Normally on a two-handed forehand, you might just have your left hand over the right hand, but he had a switched grip where his left hand would come over the top, would be on the bottom and right, so he'd be basically hitting the left hand backhand, and it was powerful.
Johnson's junior doubles partner, Tommy Jones, provided quite a contrast. Standing 6'8", the two became known as Mutt and Jeff. Jones then introduced Johnson to Jack Waters, the legendary tennis coach from Atlanta. Waters saw great potential in Johnson despite his size, and for 2 years, Johnson would take the 6 o'clock Greyhound bus to Atlanta on Fridays to train with Waters for the weekend, departing on the same bus each Sunday evening.
I think Phillip found someone that believed in Phillip, and Phillip believed in that, and that's a mentorship that Phillip took with him to help other people when he also became a tennis instructor.
Under the direction of Jack Waters, Johnson became the #1 junior tennis player in the state, but didn't achieve a top national ranking. Despite this, Waters convinced Dan McGill and Manny Diaz that Phillip would be a great fit for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Jack Waters and Coach McGill went way back, we had Jack, really call us and spoke with Coach McGill. I got a boy over here. He might not be the highest ranked junior, and he may not be 6'2", but he's going to be very special. Coach McGill really respected Jack Waters, not only for how well he taught the game of tennis, but his opinions on who was going to be able to develop. He was everything Jack, recommended and more. Jack was a big part, he would come every weekend and watch Phillip play. That was an incredible relationship and mentorship that they had.
Playing #5 singles in his sophomore season, Johnson won the clinching match in the NCAA final against UCLA, winning 7-5 in the third set against Brett Greenwood. The win gave UGA its first national title and broke up the Pac-10 dominance in men's tennis.
It was pandemonium, to be honest with you. I remember it's just a special moment.
It was overwhelming how exciting it was for us as players, how exciting it was for Phillip to win that final point, but also how exciting it was for the city of Athens. Coach McGill is truly one of the best experiences of my life.
During the next 2 seasons, Johnson played #1 singles for the Dogs, succeeding 2-time singles national champion Michael Pernfors.
Phillip's leadership was really because he was just the best player. He was so good and tough that year.
As a junior, Johnson was unbeaten without losing a set in Southeastern Conference play and named first-team All-American. As a senior, Johnson led Georgia to their second national title, finishing ranked number 2 nationally in singles behind future world top 20 player Richie Renneberg of SMU. And once again, he made the All-America team.
His junior and senior year, he moves up to number 1, and becomes a tremendous leader for our program. And handling a number 1 singles position is a very difficult job. And so the first year, you kind of getting your feet wet. And by his senior year, 1987, when he mans the number 1 singles spot and we win a national championship with a very young team, he certainly had the lead. So it's 2 different roles, and he was able to embrace both of them.
After college, Johnson played 5 years on the Pro Tour. He won his first 2 tournaments, both in South Africa. He later defeated former top 10 world players Alberto Mancini and Anders Jarrett. Johnson twice played Andre Agassi at the U.S. Open, once in the 3rd round in 1989. The year Johnson reached a career-high ranking of number 135, making him the most successful ATP Tour pro player in state history to that point.
Phillip, after graduating college, playing for a couple years on the Pro Tour is very, very impressive to me. He was sort of highlighted by his great performance at the U.S. Open, playing against Agassi on center court, under the lights. Even though that match didn't go too well for him, I mean, all of us were just astounded how great of an achievement that was.
After retiring from the tour, Johnson started coaching. His first job was at the Racket Club of Chattanooga for 12 years. After a successful run there, the Baylor School brought him in to run their prestigious varsity tennis program.
Ned Caswell and myself kind of engineered to get him out here. I was aware of him, and by then I knew him better, and I thought he was a phenomenal choice for Baylor, and he turned out to be a phenomenal choice for Baylor.
After leaving the Baylor School, Johnson became the teaching pro at Menker Patton Tennis Club in Chattanooga, a job he still holds today.
I played with many existing Hall of Fame members, and I don't think any one of them would want to play Phillip. He's dedicated his life to tennis, and he has had countless number of people fall in love with the sport because of his interaction with them. So I can't imagine anybody would be more deserving.
Congratulations to Phillip Johnson, a 2024 inductee into the Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame.